If you're still a student like I am, then you probably know that this time of the year is exam season. And for me, it's actually my last semester before I graduate, so it's extra important to maintain my GPA. Even though I do get some distractions, I try to stay focused and balance all that's on my plate right now. So today I want to share a couple of my tips and tricks that I hope will help you on your study routine. And a special thanks goes to Chegg for sponsoring this video, because I've actually been an active user of it myself for as long as I can remember. And if you don't know what Chegg is, you're really missing out. It's definitely allowed me to study smarter, not harder. I'm also super excited to share that I have an exclusive link for you to use to get $5 off your subscription to Chegg Study Pack. So find it in the description down below. As many of you may know, I'm studying media culture communication, and it might seem simple, but the academic load is actually quite heavy when it comes to required classes such as math, science, and essay writing. And because I'm more on the artistic side, I prefer assignments that involve creating something, like a film. So taking classes that include calculus, biology, or physics is a bit challenging for me, as it takes longer to really dive into the topic. So for example, when I'm doing a math question and I get to the answer that I think could be right, but I'm not 100% sure, I go to Chegg, they have a math solver, and I just double check if it's the right way to do it, because it breaks it down to you step by step with detailed explanations. So it makes a lot more sense to me after going through that. Related to that, there's also a feature called Textbook Solutions, where you can find your textbook and it will provide you with solutions to any of the questions that you might find difficult. It's a good way to reflect on what you've learned and see if you're on the right path. To make this even more engaging, I thought it would be interesting to ask some of my friends to share their personal study tips. So let's hear what they have to say. So what's your biggest study tip advice?
My biggest study tip is to study with friends, because not only does it make it more fun, but if you have a good study buddy, it makes it more motivated and more interesting, and you can get snacks together and talk about the material that you're studying. So my biggest tip is become friends with somebody in your class and study with them and learn together and, quiz one another.
I fully agree with Valeria, because I find myself doing this a lot. Every time I have a new class, I make sure to connect with at least one person, and that way I know that in an emergency situation I always have someone to message. And of course, it's always useful to meet up and study together, which is exactly what Sam and I were doing this day. By the way, I asked Sam what her favorite study tip is, and this is what she said.
My study advice is to make sure that you're getting enough sleep, because I always work better when I'm well rested and can really assess the material that I'm studying with a good mindset, very healthy and relaxed. So definitely make sure you're getting enough sleep.
But now let's go back to Valeria, because she wanted to add something else.
So I remember you mentioned something about how for papers you used an organization tool that organizes your citations on Chegg, right?
Yeah, so I use Chegg. It really helps you with my citations. It's just super quick. You put in all the information and it does it all for you. And I also am such a worrywart, so I always check for plagiarism in case I accidentally, stole someone's idea, which is really nerve-wracking. So I use Chegg for that, and it's super helpful.
As I said before, my major involves a lot of papers, so I write essays almost every week, from theoretical readings and all that. So to do well on them, you really have to pay a lot of attention to bibliography, citations, grammar. And I'm so happy Valeria shared this with me, because it wasn't until recently that I started using this. It's on Chegg Writing, where you can cite and organize all your sources in one place, and in addition to that also check for plagiarism. And it gives you exact percentage of what's been detected protected, and also checks your grammar for you to see how you can improve on it. But if you're someone who needs more in-depth feedback, then you can go for expert check, so someone can go over it with you. And now let's see what Altanay has to say.
I think my biggest study tip would be asking for help whenever you need to, and whenever you feel like you don't understand something in the class material, whether it is help from your tutor, from your classmate or friend, or from your professor. It's important to remember that you're still at school and it's completely fine not to understand everything from the first try. And if you're asking for help, it means that you really care about your classes and you're trying to do your best.
Most of the classes in my schedule are usually large lectures, so there can be anywhere up to 400 or 500 students in the same room as you. And in that kind of environment, it can be difficult to really get one-on-one attention from the professor. So what Altanay just suggested is to take it into your control. So go and find your answers, ask questions. Whether it's meeting up with your friend or setting up an office hour with a professor, or another one, considering today's circumstances, would be finding an online tutor. And I know it can be quite expensive to invest in one, so Chegg actually offers up to 30 minutes of free tutoring, and I know people who have really improved in their classes through that.
I think my study advice for you guys will be to create your own flashcards. For me, it's really helpful and useful, especially for midterms and final weeks. If you're too lazy to write it down, make it digital. There are a bunch of great websites that can help you with these. So good luck on your study.
My memory isn't as advanced, so it does take me a while to memorize terms and words for exams, and I used to write it all down on my notebook and it would take forever to go over it. So once I discovered flashcards, it completely transformed my study routine. And what Medina said is true, because you can also make them online and that way you won't lose them. And I do it through Chegg as well. It's very simple. You just copy and paste whatever term and definition that you have to remember, and that way you can even quiz yourself all through your computer. And don't forget about the special $5 off discount link that I have for you for your Chegg Study Pack, so check it in the description. But that's not everything I have prepared for you. Let's hear what Roxy, Guinea, and Diddy have to say.
Okay, so my studying tips are write down your notes over and over again. So what I like to do is either type them or write them down, and also set a timer when you're studying and give yourself like little breaks in between, because it can be very overwhelming when you just like try to remember everything at once.
My study tip is something that I did throughout college. Before any major exam, I would have a really good workout that day, and I would also get a really good breakfast. That is because the workout, what it did is it cleared my head of all stress and all like built up worry about the exam, and it allowed me to focus when I went back to studying. And also, I think equally important is to have a really good breakfast or lunch, whatever time your exam is, to eat a really good meal beforehand, like a big bowl of oatmeal or some kind of high protein snack. I think that studying is great, and then you need to take the steps to get your mind in the right place to perform well on the exam, because it doesn't matter how much you know if you're not in a good state of performing well. So that is my study.
Personal favorite and most important and effective tip that I would give is to put your phone physically in another room, because that creates the perfect environment for you to stay just focused on your studies and to look only to your computer or books and not get distracted by social media or texting with your friends. I did that in university when I had so many exams. I physically put my phone away and text my friends like, okay guys, I'm gonna disconnect myself from the phone or social media for the next 2 hours, and that gives me the perfect time to just stay focused and having no other choice than study. Many kisses from Italy, and the best luck with your studies. Bye!
So this concludes today's video, and I really hope you found it helpful. Just remember that everyone has their own study approach and study preferences, so you just got to experiment and see what fits you. I wish you all the very best if you're taking exams this season, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.